Even more than doing fun hypnosis, I help people change their life with hypnosis. Okay, I can use hypnosis to help people to overcome their fears or their addictions. I help people to break through depression or anxiety. I help people to reclaim their confidence or motivation. I can help anybody change their life in a moment using the understanding of hypnosis and how our minds are naturally wired and how they work. So if I were to say I could change your life right now, what would I do to change your life?
I would be less depressed.
Less depressed?
Yeah.
Are you like on medication for depression or anything? You are? How long have you been on medication?
Like a year.
Okay. And what does that depression look like? What are the symptoms of that depression for you?
I just can't. I have no motivation to anything.
No motivation?
Yeah.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not depressed at all, 10 being very depressed, on a day-to-day basis, where are you usually?
Solid 9.
A solid 9, okay. What if I told you that right now, within the next couple minutes, we could get that depression wiped out, eliminated, down to a 0?
I would take that.
You would take that. Sound good? So we're about to do that.
Okay.
All right? Here's what we'll do. Close your eyes and just focus on me, focus on the sound of my voice. We're about to wipe out your depression forever for good right now in this moment, change your life forever. Imagine right now you're staring at a dial, and that dial goes from a 1 to a 10. Imagine it's set at a 9. You see that dial, that's in a 9 because that's the depression dial. That's how you experience depression, or how in the past you've experienced depression. And imagine you're standing in the way that you normally stand when you experience a 9 out of 10 depression. You breathe in the way that you breathe, you feel the way that you feel. But imagine that dial is now changed. It's dropped now to a 7, from an 8 to a 7, now even less depressed. Again, feel the way you feel, stand the way you feel, breathe the breeze. We breathe a 7 out of 10 now. But imagine that dial drop down even more to now a 5. Feeling even better, breathing even better, standing even better now that that dial's gone from a 9 down to a 5. Watch it drop down again to a 3. Even better, feeling even more amazing, breathing more amazing, standing more amazing. That depression had gone from a 9 to a 7 to now a 3. Now watch it drop down one final time, down to a 1. A 1 out of 10. Absolutely no depression that you're feeling right now, we're experiencing right now. Stand the way you'd stand, breathe the way you'd breathe, feel the way you'd feel if you were a 1 out of 10 depression. Now imagine right now that dial in your mind, you still see it. You see it set at a 1 out of a 10. Imagine I've just taken that dial and I've smashed it. So now it's stuck at a 1 out of 10. That's right, that dial cannot go back up. Before, in the past, your default setting was a 9. That's what you'd experience on a day-to-day level. It's like a thermostat. If it goes higher than a 9, it defaults. If it goes lower than a 9, it defaults. That's where it ends up. But now that dial, that thermometer, is changed to a 1. Now your default setting is now changed to a 1, which means you'll never again experience any depression any higher than a 1 out of a 10. Anytime you start to creep back up, it goes right back to a 1 because that is your default setting. You now feel 1 out of a 10, you breathe 1 out of a 10, you stand 1 out of a 10, and not just now, but every moment for the rest of your life. That is how you feel, and that is who you are now. 1 out of 10 depression, completely gone. How do you feel right now?
I feel a lot better.
You feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And guess what? That feeling is not just like, hey, right now, this is kind of fun. That feeling's not going to go away. Okay?
I hope not.
You hope not, but it won't.
Okay.
Because tell you what, how did you learn you had depression?
I got sad every day.
You got what?
I got sad every day.
You got sad every day,
Yeah,
okay.
and then-
Now, can you be sad and not depressed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So how did you
But,
know
like,
you were
yeah.
depressed and not sad?
I went to the doctor.
And what did the doctor tell you?
They were like, this isn't normal. You should do something about it.
So it's not normal to be sad?
It's not normal to be sad every day and to have feelings like that intensely.
Not if nothing else goes on.
Yeah.
But our
the
feelings?
situational depression is different.
Right, exactly. What might have been going on? Like, I don't know your life,
My
but what might
parents'
have been?
divorce.
Your parents. So is it normal to feel sad every day if your
Yeah.
parents are going through
I mean,
divorce?
Yeah, but not like after, 4 years after,
Sometimes it can.
I guess.
And that's not called having a disorder. That's called being human. If you weren't sad, right, 4 years later, each people, they experience emotion on a different level. And when people tell us, you're not normal because you don't experience emotion like I do, you have a disorder, who are they to judge? Who are they to tell you how you should or shouldn't experience or feel or live or carry your life? Has anyone ever shown you any lab results for your depression?
Yes.
What'd they show you?
Like, I don't know, like these scans and, I don't know, there's all this weird stuff.
Weird stuff. Do you know what the weird stuff was?
No.
No. So they could have been showing you a bunch of bogus and you wouldn't have known the difference, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Because here's the deal, there's no lab results that can prove depression. People tell us the psychiatrist agenda is that depression's a chemical imbalance, right? Is that what they've told you? It's a chemical imbalance. A chemical imbalance is actually a symptom of depression. When you're depressed, your serotonin levels can get lowered. Your neurotransmitters will produce chemicals on a different level Go figure. When you're sad, they produce it on a different level, right?
Yeah.
But what they like to make you think is that you're broken, that they don't produce them on a normal level, so you need medication to fix it. And medications help, but what medications only help with the symptoms. They don't actually treat the
Yeah.
problems. Because if they treated the problem, you wouldn't have depression anymore, right? Do you know, maybe it's yourself or maybe someone else, someone that takes medication consistently and is still depressed all the time.
Yeah.
Because medications, they help the symptom, they don't help the problem. What helps the problem is what you focus on, is how you live your life, and it was when you realize it's not a disorder, but it's normal and it's who you are. And I'm going to leave you with one final thing, and this is going to change your life. In addition to the dial that's now changed and your default setting is different, this analogy is going to totally change your life.
Okay.
I want you to think about, when you think of depression, what's the first color that pops into your mind? Black. Okay. What's the opposite of depression?
White.
White. Okay. Good. And
Black and white.
what's the opposite feeling of depression?
Happiness.
Happiness. So black is depression, white is happiness. And what do you want more, happiness or depression?
Happiness.
So you want white, right? I want you to imagine, just for a couple seconds, look around right now and find as many things as you can that are white. Just make a mental note of how many things that are white. As you look around and you find all the white around you, you got it. You don't have to name every single thing, but just a rough estimate. How many things that are white did you find?
Like 700.
Like 700 things that are white. Now, without looking around again, how many things that are black could you name right now?
Just one.
Just one, right? And see, this is the purpose of the analogy of looking around and looking for white or for black, is that you always find what you're looking for.
Oh shit. Okay.
Because what's wrong is always available. If I told you to look for black, could you have found black?
Probably if I tried harder.
If you tried harder. But because you looked for white, what did you find?
White.
If you look for white, what are you going to find?
White.
If you look for black, what are you going to find?
Black.
If you look for happiness, what are you going to find?
Happiness.
If you look for depression, what are you going to find?
Depression.
Right. So what are you going to look for?
Happiness.
And when you look for it, what are you going to find?
White. Happiness.
Happiness, right? White happiness. But now every time you see white, actually, you're going to think happiness. You're surrounded by things that are white all the time, but even right now, as you see these things that are white around you, you feel more happy, don't you, as you look around at these things that are white. And again, that's not something that's just right now, but every moment as you carry out the rest of your life, the more you see white, the more it makes you feel happy right now, all right?
Yeah.
Sound great?
Clouds and stuff.
Clouds are going to make you, right? And clouds, people usually feel, I have a cloud, I'm depressed.
Yeah, I love rain.
But now you love rain, right? Which again, most people, that's not normal. Who gives a
you.
crap about, exactly, I love that, right? Who gives a crap about normal, because it's about who you are. And who you are is not depressed, who you are is
Happy.
happy. Love it, my friend.
Thank you.
Rock it out.